this is something that I came up with when I was in school because I had this same kind of fear. I don't know why. See, this is it again. Why is there such a taboo? Why do we have to change our pad discreetly? Why can't we just rip it off? We're all girls, we're all women, we're all having our goddamn period and it's not a nice thing, so why do we have to be stressing about how to change our pad? Oh, hello my beautiful friends and welcome back to my channel. So friends, today we are going to be talking all things periods. The dreaded P word. The dreaded P word. Oh, how I hate the... So considering we are now living in the year 2019, I still don't understand why there is so much of a taboo around periods and talking about our periods and why it's still seen as such a gross thing, and don't you ever mention that around me, because that's gross. Even though having your period is something that every woman has to deal with and something that every woman goes through. So, you know, it should be such a normal, open thing to talk about, but it's not, because this is the world we're living in. So yeah, I really would love to get a conversation flowing on this topic and for us to just be really open down in the comment section below, have an open conversation with each other and just to touch on and discuss some of the things that I just feel aren't spoken about enough in relation to our periods, etc. So there are many misconceptions about vaginas, about periods, about period products, and young women can be very susceptible to these, especially when they first start their period. You know, maybe they've heard from a friend that using a tampon is uncomfortable or that it's impossible to get in, or maybe they've heard that you can't go swimming on your period, or that discharge is dirty, and the list goes on and on and on. So yeah, today I'm going to be touching on some of the myths surrounding our vaginas, surrounding our periods, and I'm also going to be answering questions from you guys that you guys left on my Instagram. So if you do want to get involved with these kinds of videos in the future, definitely do follow my Instagram because I always ask you guys for questions there. So yeah, we're just going to have an open discussion on vaginas, on periods, period products. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy this. Please do smash a big thumbs up if you would like me to do more of this content in the future, and without further ado, let's just dive right on into the video. So first of all, I'm just going to be touching on some of the myths that are out there surrounding our vaginas. So the first myth is that our vaginas should be odorless, and I don't know how many times in everyday life I've heard girls talk about this, even online. You know, girls are always like, why does my vagina have a smell? Oh my god, my vagina has a smell, my vagina shouldn't smell, I'm washing my vagina but it still smells, smell. So the myth is that vaginas should be odorless, but the truth is that all vaginas have a natural smell and everyone's odor is different, but it is completely normal. So our vaginas are also self-cleaning with the help of discharge, just like our eyes with tears. Our tears clean our eyes, and then discharge also helps prevent infection. So I mean, our vaginas are pretty goddamn amazing. So the next myth is that you have to find the one sanitary product that suits you and stick to it. But the truth is that everyone has a unique flow and shape, so you should find a combination of products that works best for you. You don't have to find one product and only stick with that product. And this may change depending on where you are in your cycle. Example, you know, maybe pads during the night time, tampons during the day, and then maybe, you know, you might use liners for your in-between days. So you do not need to just find one product and stick to that product. You can find a combination of products which works best for you. So friends, today's video is actually in collaboration and sponsored by the Always Platinum pads, and in relation to, you know, finding what product works best for you, pads are always what has worked best for me. So I have always been a pad kind of girl, and then liners for my in-between days. I'm not a tampon girl, but that just shows, you know, everyone is completely different. So for one person, pads and liners might work, for another might be tampons and liners, but you don't have to just find one product and stick to it. So yeah, I absolutely adore these pads. As I've said numerous times before, I've been using the Always products for years, ever since I started my period when I was like 13 years of age, and I'm now 21. I can always rely on Always. So this is what one of their pads look like, but I really do support the current campaign they are doing, where they are trying to, you know, bust the myths that are out there surrounding periods and vaginas, because as I said, there's way too much of a taboo around periods and vaginas. So I love love how they're trying to get this conversation flowing and get us feeling more comfortable discussing it, because it shouldn't be, you know, there shouldn't be any shame around periods, and it should be such a natural, normal thing to talk about. So always thank you for, you know, giving us some confidence around talking about vaginas and periods, because we need that. We need that. So now we're going to dive in and answer some questions surrounding periods. So the first question, and the most common question that was asked, is best way to deal with the crappy mood that comes along with periods. And then there was another one, how to cope with mood swings. But so many of you guys were touching on mood swings and the crappy mood that comes along with periods. So the first thing I just want to say is, unfortunately, a low mood swings is just something that comes along with having a period and being a woman. Unfortunately, as frustrating as it is, it's not something we can ever completely get rid of. Of course, there are so many things we can do now to help it and make it not be so extreme, which I am going to talk about now. But that is just something that comes along with being a woman, unfortunately. Because at that time of the month, our hormones are all over the place. We're up and down. Our hormones are like a yo-yo. They're like this. And I know how bad the mood swings can be. Trust me, I have had many a bad mood swing. Many a bad crappy mood. Many a bad, angry, emotional Jessie on her period. So yeah, even though there's nothing we can really do to completely get rid of the mood swings and the low mood, there are a lot of things we can do to make them a bit more manageable, and to the point where we actually can deal with them, and to the point where they're not actually affecting our everyday life. Because I know myself, like, I do suffer with really bad PMS, like extremely bad, and I know how bad the mood swings can be and how difficult it can be just to get on with day-to-day life if you are having a bad bout of PMS. So the first thing I would highly recommend is to keep track of your menstrual cycle. So to keep track of your menstrual cycle and your emotions throughout the different stages of the month. So by doing this will help you confirm that, you know, your mood swings are indeed linked to your cycle, and knowing this can just kind of put things into perspective a bit. Ever since I've kind of kept track of my cycle, you know, when I do have extreme mood swings, and then I kind of look back, and when I realize that it's because of my cycle, because of where I am in my menstruation, and because of my period, it just puts things into perspective for me, and it has helped me so much. Because when you know there's a reason for you feeling that kind of way, and when you know that there is a reason behind you feeling so awful and so sad and so down, it's not as daunting. Because if you don't realize that it is linked to your period, I feel like you can fall into a darker place and like more moody, like more sad, more down, more not wanting to do anything. But when you know there is a reason behind it, it just kind of makes you be like, oh, okay, you know, it's just my hormones. I'm actually not losing the plot. I'm actually not a crazy bitch. So something else that I would really recommend is natural remedies. Calcium supplement and B6 supplement are also meant to be absolutely amazing to help with PMS symptoms, with mood swings, with irritability and anxiety. So I would definitely try and get your hands on, you know, either of those. Lifestyle is the main contributing factor to your PMS and your mood swings and all the factors that do surround your period. And the top ones would be exercise, sleep, stress and nutrition. You need to try and be at least getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Sleep is so important for your mood and your hormones. It has such an impact on absolutely everything in relation to your body. So then exercise. They actually say to get 30 minutes of exercise more days of the week than not. Again, you know, this is amazing for you and your moods because it releases them good feel hormones, endorphins into your body. And you know, even if it's just a walk around your town, around your neighborhood, just get your body moving. So then nutrition, you know, try to not reach for all them junk foods when you are PMSing. As difficult as it can be, I know I am really bad for this and I am guilty of this. When I'm PMSing, when I'm on my period, I literally just want to eat all the junk food in my tracks. I will go to the shop and I will buy a big bag of crisps, of chocolate, of sweets, and I will just sit there indulging because I feel like it's going to make me feel better, but it really does wreak havoc with your mood. It kills your mood and it's so bad for you because all these foods are so high in sugar and salt, etc. So to try and avoid the junk foods as much as possible, maybe reach for, you know, strawberries, something sweet that will kind of crave them, you know, kind of sweet tooth cravings. You don't need to eliminate junk food altogether, of course not, but just to try and not be eating too much of it because it really does have an impact on our mood. And then also stress is one of the worst things for PMS. You know, try deep breathing exercises, yoga, meditation. All these things can really help with stress, along with exercise is the best thing for me anyway with stress, and a lot of people, because again it releases them good feel endorphins, hormones into your body. So yeah, to try and manage over your stress. But I feel like with mood swings, it's just something you kind of have to over time learn how to control and keep at bay. And all of these things that I've just spoke about have really helped me so much. So even though there's not one thing we can do to just be like bam, kabish, we have no more mood swings, you know, if you do kind of work on all of these things together, it really will help you in the long run. So the next question is, why is my period brown sometimes? So, you know, I had a couple of girls that seemed to be really concerned about this and that I wasn't normal, but it is so very normal. You know, your period tends to be brown near like the last few days of your period, and the main reason for this is because the blood is old. It has been sitting up in your womb and your uterus for the whole month, so by the time it does get to leave your body, it is extremely old blood. So that is why your period might be brown sometimes, and you know, it normally does tend to be near the end of your cycle, but sometimes it can also be at the very start of your cycle, and because again it has been gathering up in your body for the whole month, so that is why it might be brown, and it is absolutely nothing to be concerned about. It is so very normal. So the next question is reasons for missing your period other than being pregnant. So I feel like a lot of girls and a lot of women don't realise that there are so many factors that can contribute to us not getting our period and actually missing a period, and it does not always mean that we are pregnant. So the likes of coming off birth control, stress, extreme exercise, illness, medication, recently starting your period, the list goes on and on. So there are so many reasons as to why you could miss a period. I would definitely, you know, do some research about it or talk to your doctor if you are concerned, but a lot of the time there's absolutely nothing to be concerned about. My doctor actually told me that a very common reason that a lot of women miss their period is down to stress, and we don't realise the cause stress has on our body and on our menstruation cycle, so it has a huge effect. So if you ever do miss a period, you know, don't be alarmed, because a lot of the time there actually is nothing to worry about. So the next question is how to change a pad discreetly in school. So I had a few of you girls asking me this, and this is something that I came up with when I was in school because I had this same kind of fear. I don't know why. See, this is it again. Why is there such a taboo? Why do we have to change our pad discreetly? Why can't we just rip it off? We're all girls, we're all women, we're all having our goddamn period, and it's not a nice thing, so why do we have to be stressing about how to change our pad? Oh. So what I used to do in school is, so I would always have one of my always pads with me because, you know, very trusty and reliable. But yeah, so what I used to do is before I left the house, I would get the pad and I would do that because that is where the pad makes the most amount of noise. And also this bit. So I would do that. So I would open my pad up like this because when you're in the toilet, that is what creates all the noise, and you're trying to do it quietly, and you can never do it quietly, can you? Because it's not something you can do quietly. So I'd open it like that, and then I just fold it back up, and I would stick her in my bra. So I would always stick my pad in my bra because it's such a discreet place to put it, and it's so easy to take out when you get to the toilet. And also, you know, when you're going to the toilet, if you're like, I need to change my pad, how am I going to get it from my bag, my school bag, into my pocket or whatever, you know, it eliminates all this stress. So if you put like maybe one pad in each boob or two or whatever the case may be, and then you just get into the toilet, you take it out, and then, you know, you can just open it up and there's no noise because you've already done the noisy bit at home. And that worked wonders for me. And that literally saved me during school. And something else I would say is if you are worried about ripping the pad off your knickers in the toilet, because that can also be a little bit noisy and a little bit loud, something I used to do is I would flush the toilet. So I'd flush the toilet and then rip it off, because when the toilet flushes, it creates so much noise. So if you just flush the toilet and then rip your pad out your knickers, you've got nothing to be worried about, and nobody is gonna hear a thing. So the next question is, can you get pregnant on your period? So sperm can live inside you for 2 to 3 and up to 5 days. So you could have sex near the end of your bleeding, near the end of your period, and you could actually conceive 4 to 5 days later with early ovulation. Now, it is extremely uncommon and it's not something that happens very often, but you're not safe, and I would not take any any risks, because you never know, you probably would be the one person that will get pregnant. But yes, it is very much possible. It's not common, but it can still happen. So I would say if you are having sex on your period, to still use protection and don't feel like, you know, you're fine and you're safe and you can't get pregnant now, because you most definitely can. So the next question is it normal to get clots, blood clots? It is the most normal thing ever, yes. And I remember when I first got a clot, I was like, I'm dying. What is wrong with me? Why is there a clump of blood? Like, surely this isn't normal. But it is so normal. You know, blood clots and clots tend to contain tissue. They may contain tissue because when your uterus is shedding its lining, you know, sometimes bits of tissue or whatever may come off with it. So yeah, it's absolutely nothing to be concerned about. It's all part of a normal menstruation cycle, so don't be concerned. So the next question is, how often should you change your pad? So you should change your pad every 3 to 4 hours, so you don't end up with an odor from bacteria that can grow in your blood, or, you know, change it more frequently than that if you have a very heavy period. So you should change your tampon every 4 to 8 hours. You should never ever leave a tampon in for any longer than 8 hours, because you could develop toxic shock syndrome, which is a bacterial infection and can actually be very dangerous. So yeah, always make sure you're changing your sanitary products quite often, quite regularly. So the next question is, any product suggestions for first time bleeders? I would highly recommend the Always pads, and this is what I started on. I found them very easy to use, I found them very comfortable, and I just personally think pads are the best thing to start out with, because, you know, you're very new to periods, you're kind of getting used to your body, what kind of flow you have and all this kind of jazz. So, you know, I find with pads as well, you can kind of then know what kind of flow you have if you start out with pads, because if you start out with pads, you can kind of know after a month or two if you have a light flow, a medium flow, a heavy flow, and therefore, you know, you can choose if you need a high absorbency, a low absorbency. If you do move on to tampons, then you'll know what kind of absorbency you need to go with. So yeah, I would highly personally recommend pads if you're a first time bleeder, because I just find they're the easiest to use, they're the easiest to change, and yeah, I would go with the trusty old pad. So friends, that is the end of me talking all things periods. I could definitely do a part 2 to this if you would like me to. Just let me know down in the comments below. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Let's end the what the hell just happened there? Let's end the taboo surrounding periods and period products and our vaginas. Let's end it, because it's just so unnecessary. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I cannot wait to see you all in my next video, and I love you all so very much. Mwah. Bye bye friends.